All right, I believe that we've nailed technology again, and we are currently live. So good morning, good evening, good afternoon, good night, wherever you are in the world. Welcome to our live stream. So we're very, very excited to have Founder of L1X here, Kevin Coutinho, and also Cam from Digalabs as well. So really massive space today on on Web3 gaming and all things that entail that. So I'll pass over to the most important people here, and they can give you intros and all the fun stuff of where we're going to go on the journey today. And I guess Ken can kick us off.
Hello guys. Thank you so much for having me and having Digalabs. I'm John, and I'm CEO of Digalabs. And as Digalabs, we are building two different projects. One of them is Web3 gaming infrastructure, and another one is called Elderun, which is a Web3 gaming development studio. And yeah, basically, this is what we are doing. And I'm John. I'm basically a marketer, and almost 1.5 years I'm in Digalabs. I'm managing management stuff, I can say this, and helping the marketing activities and development of the products. And yeah, thank you so much.
Awesome. Am I audible? All clear?
Yeah.
Awesome. Yeah. Hi. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening to wherever you are. I'm Kevin Coutinho. I'm the founder of LayerOneX, and I was looking forward to this space because we've been working with Digalabs, for quite a while now, and we've been having meeting almost every day. And today we're going to provide insights on, what we are working on, which is pretty amazing. But before that, I think, just to set the tone on Web3 gaming and to give viewers some perspective as to, why we decided to solve a specific problem, right? Because in Web3 or even in Web2, sometimes, there are solutions that need problems, right? And I think starting from the problem itself and then working towards the solution is something that we'll do today. When I think about Web3 gaming, I'm not a very big gamer. I tried and it didn't work out. Right, I always lost, so I just let that go. But can give me a few tips maybe. But anyways, I think one of the most important thing about Web3 or even let's say Web2 games, right? 1 in 2.5 or let's say 3 people in the world have all played games or play games, right? And if you have played games, just comment down below and tell us what games have you played. But it's interesting because it's like taking social media to the next step, right? It's like an interactive socialism that we do there. And when I looked at it and I try to analyze things fundamentally, right, when we are trying to solve a problem, and I was discussing with Can, and I was trying to understand the pain points of the Web3 user specific to games. One of the things that I've noticed is that the allegiance to games, right, and the users that are actually playing the games is not actually, they're not pretty much, they're not creating allegiance to games, but they're creating allegiance to networks. So as a gamer, if I am playing a specific game that is on a specific network, I think this is an amazing combination, because you can be a hardcore gamer that believes in that game and you can believe in a specific network, right? And we love that fact because that's why everyone has come to this community, right? They get the choice to decide. But I think what is also hey Mike.
Hey guys. Hey Ken.
Hey. But what is also important to understand is that should not cause barriers, right? Because what happens is when I look at Web2 games, the market conditions on Web2 games is if the market goes down, I think there are more gamers, right? But in Web3, if the market worsens, there are fewer gamers. And it can be maybe, because of the gas price, it can be because of so many different things. And that's where we feel that creating a system where your allegiance is to a specific game, not to a specific network, right? And today, when you play a game, you don't think that I hate, Mac OS, I hate, some other operating systems. You love the game. And to bring back that philosophy of creating allegiance to games only, it's pretty important to make it blockchain agnostic, right? So I can probably play on the network of my choice. I can be rewarded on the network of my choice, and I can, sell maybe some assets of that I've made during the games of my choice. And this combination is an amazing thing, because if we can bring that, you are unlocking the fact that games and Web3 users can scale. Because think about Facebook. If Facebook did not open up the accounts to everyday people and kept it restricted to Howard, it would never scale, right? So this is where we think that opening up the doors to gamers to play with themselves while leveraging the best of what the networks have to offer is where Xtalk can come in. And we are working with Digalabs for that.
Yeah, also, I believe that there is a basic motivation for gamers play a game. On the Web3 gaming market, it could be, earning things or having fun. And one of the other important aspect is that becoming a part of the community. And I believe Web3 community mostly living in their mobiles or PCs, and they're always active and on Discord, Telegram, or Twitter. And becoming a part of a community is really important, feeling special in this community. And in addition to this, in addition to this motivation, we need to, give some easy integrations and reaching out other chains. And for example, we are in BNB chain, and it's hard to reach, AVAX players or Solana players. But when we fully integrate to LayerOneX, we will have a chance to reach different communities and Solana, Ethereum, Arbitrum, and etc. And this is pretty powerful feature, I can say this. And for example, our games focuses interoperability in each other. And we have a structure that Solana and BNB players play together. But if you don't have a chance to integrate Solana easily, it will a little hard for us. But with the capabilities of LayerOneX, Xtalk, and we will have a chance to easily reach those players and create a different community. And we have a chance to create a new community style from different chains. And like that, there are AVAX maxis, Solana maxis, Ethereum maxis, and there will be LayerOne maxis. But these maxis will also support their main chains. For example, AVAX, Avalanche, Solana. Yeah, basically, I can say this about Web3 gaming perspective, motivation, and interoperability. The main how can I say, the main capability of interoperability.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I think Mike, you wanna say something? Or?
Yeah, I think what it also introduces is the ability to integrate wallets into games as well, so that users are not having to shell out of the game into a wallet to be able to conduct a transaction, to buy an NFT, to sell an NFT, to do any of that. It makes life so much easier for them, and also potentially in there for Web 2 games. So let's call them Web 2.5. In that side of things, to integrate those games with the various components of blockchain, the wallet and NFTs, things like that. So it actually starts expanding the potential use cases across projects that previously weren't able to.
Yeah, 100%. And when I was looking at the demographics of the gaming world, right? I think gaming is like one of the most generalized industry in the world that has age groups from I think 1 year old to 100-year old, right? Male, female, all the countries. And the whole tenet of Web3 is to provide an opportunity for or to everyone to be able to be a part of something revolutionary. And I think this is a great industry that Web3 can actually even support. And I'm looking forward to this. I got a question for Kat, right? um, how do you see Digalabs actually positioning itself in the whole tenet of Web3 gaming or Web3 interoperability? So what is that core positioning that you see you are standing to solve or provide? I think you're muted. You're muted, Ken.
Just kidding. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And yeah, as Digalabs, we are providing end-to-end solution, and we want to touch every step on in the Web3 gaming market, and from community, from smart contract creation, and NFT marketplace, launch pads, games, upgrade NFT upgrading system, communities, and etc. And we are planning to reach a really actually not planning. We are reaching out a good perspective on the Web3 gaming market, but just one feature we have, we must have. This is the interoperability feature, and we are not, we cannot provide our community to reach different chains. It's really painful, and creating contract on the Avalanche and integrating all of our assets over there, and we can do this, but it takes time. It takes time. And for example, if a Web2 game like to integrate to Web3 space, we can provide every step, and we can support their process on every step, but until the interoperability section. And they can create their smart contracts and integrate Digard platform to create their communities, NFT marketplace, token launch, NFT launch, and etc. And even the reaching, even adding their games into a specific gaming market. And it could be ours, it could be different. And we have also network, and we have also our own marketplace, gaming marketplace. But the most painful and thing is reaching different chains. So, and this is interoperability, and what we are missing on the Digalabs ecosystem. And with LayerOneX partnership, and we have a chance to easily solve this problem. And as a game, and as a gaming market, and as an NFT marketplace and token launchpad, I have a chance to, as Digalabs, reach 8 different chains. This is like crazy feature, bro. For example, when I think about CDFI, they are integrate their tokens on different chains. And when I look ChainGPT, they are integrating their tokens on different chains as a launchpad or as an incubator. And for example, Sharapnel, and they integrated their tokens on every different chains, and they add liquidity and etc. These all of our these are calls, new calls, and expansions. And so, but with just one pool and just one NFT contract, we have a chance to reach 8 different chains without lots of work, thanks to the install. And basically, I can tell about our infrastructure, about Web3 gaming, and what we are missing. And I believe that LayerOneX is our last step to remove the borders on the Web3 gaming.
That's a nice one. It's a nice one. The last step to remove the borders. That's good. That's good. No, thanks for that. Thanks for that. And yeah, I think moving on, right? What we'll do is I'll share my screen, my whiteboard, as we all know, right? The famous whiteboard, and we'll walk through, various, pointers, and we'll definitely see how we are solving this, right? And what is coming up next. And maybe can later on tell you about the upcoming game, right? So I'll just share my screen. Okay, is my screen visible? Yep, awesome. Okay, so of course, feel free to jump in, Can, Joe, Mike, whenever you guys have any pointers. But for me, right, first of all, I just wanted to understand, and these pointers I put across where I think the community needs to also be aware of these things as they are already aware, but probably setting the stage, like what is it that Web3 games actually provide, and how are they going to be different to Web2 games? Because I am of the belief that Web2 games can go Web3, but there is no coming back once you go to Web3, back in Web2, right? And what is that catalyst? What are those main core reasons? The first one being digital ownership. And I like to, probably point out that digital ownership can mean, your assets that you earn from the games, but also the fact that, over a long time, you build this community of friends on a certain game that is an asset for you, right? And even these groups of people coming in to play this game, this connection that you build along with the assets that you may have, the ability to tokenize and digitally own them is one of the biggest advantage I see a Web3 game can provide, right? The second one I feel is bringing, inclusivity to skill sets. And what I mean by that is, I loved playing Counter-Strike, right? CSGO. And, there's these different schemes that you get, right? And I had to go and, probably hire someone on Fiverr if I had a certain branded graphics. And then that person gave me the file, I uploaded that. But in this case, what has actually happened is I took over the credit of that particular person, right? And skill sets and building your resume go hand in hand if you look at it cumulatively, if you're trying to build that cumulatively, because they compound. So opening up games where people from different skill sets can come in and provide certain assets, they can provide certain algorithms maybe on how rewards can be distributed. I think that's definitely something that I see, working. Also, at the same time, bringing governance to the community. Now, one of the biggest GameFi that I see happening in the future is education, right? And education and gamifying that, at least for children with the age of probably 0 to 5 years or 10 years, can go a big way in how we can currently change the education system towards it being more practical. And being able, as a community, being able to govern the courses in there, I think makes perfect sense, right? And monetizing your skill sets. So of course, by bringing in your skill sets, not only that, but at the same time, being able to monetize each and every component, because if your skin in the game is provided where multiple players are using it, right, there is a traceability, there is a trackability associated with that. So I definitely feel that there is a higher probability of you making more money if there is traceability in Web3, right? And that that is where I feel Web3 can, punch in its weight compared to Web2 games only. Yeah, just on this, right? In terms of the digital ownership, I've seen the games, and you've got oath stones, right, in this game that's coming up. Can you maybe just tell us more a little bit about the oath stones that are there and how players can acquire those characters?
Yeah. And firstly, I'd like to mention, so we start our integration process, and on the Heroes of Eldor site, our trading card game site with LayerOneX, and pretty crazy stuff is coming, by the way, guys. And yeah, so our gaming structure basically like this. You are getting an chest called Oathstone, and this Oathstone, when you open this Oathstone, you are getting champions according to the tier of the Oathstone, and there's a randomized mechanism in it, and according to your chance, you will get five different tiers Oathstone: uncommon, champions, common, uncommon, rare, epic, and legendary. And you can get these Oathstones by playing our games. And there is a rewarding mechanism, and you have a chance to get these Oathstones by playing our games and participating some events that we are, make on our Twitter or Discord for our community. And basically, the Oathstone provides the digital ownership of your champions, but you don't know what's in it. But when you open the Oathstones, you will get your real champions, and you will digitalizedly own these champions. And you can use these champions in our games, or you can sell it on NFT marketplaces, or you can stake them to get better rewards. And so basically, our structure like this about digital ownership, and on the champion site, and you will have a chance to also in the near future, you will have a chance to upgrade your champions by merging a couple of specific champions, and something like this. Yeah, about digital ownership.
Nice.
Yeah.
Thanks
How
for that.
many there is a question, Alba, and how many Oathstones are in the collection? These are unlimited supply, and Oathstones are unlimited supply, but the champions that you are getting from Oathstones are limited supply, but the exact number of supply is not revealed yet, because for example, we are in the first season of our game, and when we release our second season, you are not able to get the first season's champions. So we are limiting our champions mechanism like this. For example, if the community gets 1,000 different legendaries in this season, and when we release the next season, the last season's champions will be limited to 1,000, and you don't have a chance to get from this by playing game or opening Oathstones. You can only get this from another player. That's the only way, and we are controlling the scarcity of the.
Nice.
So that's creating a lot of scarcity and potentially demand in there for those for the Oathstones or the contents as well.
Yeah, definitely.
Okay, good. Moving on, I think let's probably even talk a little bit about interoperability, right, in the Web3 space. And of course, there's so many different things and components to interoperability in Web3 games, but I kind of like to look at it, from the from the feature focused perspective, right? And the first one, I guess, is bringing utility to assets and values by owning and trading on any network, right? Now, easier said than done, but we all understand the pain point that we currently have when we want to swap tokens, right? And I'm pretty certain that gaming, users face that pain points when they own an asset on a certain chain where it's easier or cheaper to mint that asset, but then the people who are actually trying to buy that asset are on a different chain, right? So in terms of the assets, I definitely feel opening up this ecosystem a little bit, where your assets can be given to you and where they can be traded, will provide scalability to Web3 games. The second one, I feel that improvising the overall user experience, and I kind of think that apart from the fact that certain games require certain resources to actually run them, that's not even a problem with Web3. But where I see the user experience sticking in is proving that you have won the game and actually updating the chain, right? So every time you play a certain game, you are attached to a certain milestone. You need to open up your wallet, you need to sign that. But with us, we have changed that, how Xtalk and MetaMask or X Wallet interacting with the protocol can be used to create a session. So these kind of sessions allow you to play a game as long as you want, and then a complete update is possible through that. So reducing the number of transactions, reducing the cost to play the game, where user experience can also be the cost, right? And the third one I see is extending the use cases to other industries, such as advertising and finance. And advertising and Web3 games are a completely untapped market. That is what I feel, where the Web3 games, the players for the Web3 games are pretty much Web3 focused at this stage. So if there are Web3 projects that are looking for in-game assets that they can provide, or at the same time, if they can advertise in the game through gamification, this area is completely untapped. And interoperability at this stage for that integration is not a advice, it's a prescription. Because without having interoperability, you will never be able to advertise across different chains. And this is where even finance comes through, which is, when I say finance, I mean DeFi, which is, if a user has a certain asset, let's say on the AVAX chain, and there is a buyer on the ETH chain, not only does the guy want the asset on ETH, but he wants to pay in ETH, right? So the focus of integrating these other industries in the Web3 games, where Web3 games currently are lacking funds, are lacking so much of resources that it requires for its adoption. So until and unless we can't integrate the other industries into this, it won't have the necessary ammunition it requires for the scale. And I think that's where even Xtalk can definitely pitch in to support this integration and ecosystem.
I think we can also add into there, as you're talking about that, Kevin, I think it's they're fantastic concepts. But imagine where you, for example, you might go onto a website and purchase some real food for delivery, and part of that is actually integration into a game where that you receive a credit for that food that then appears in the game as well. And I think that's something that Web 2 can never even come close to delivering, whereas Web 3, you've got that ability to do that. So not just product placements and gamification of advertising, where you can actually build into the game things like building a fork out of the game into an advert that the user plays, and then they earn the returns from that. That's fantastic. But imagine linking it up to real world products that can be shown in the game as well. And that also is advertising. Other players can see it, see what you've bought. There's all sorts of, there's 1,000 possibilities in there too that we can achieve.
100%. Yeah. Okay. Moving on. Now, let's talk about the use cases, right? Where with Xtalk, what use cases are we bringing to Web3 games, and which will actually be demonstrated through the game that we are building with Digalabs. So the first one is the X network, like we call it, right? Play from any network. So regardless of where the player is at, right? If the player is on Avalanche, L1X, Binance chain, doesn't really matter. The player can verify that he is actually who he says he is, and he actually owns a certain asset to play the game, right? Even if the asset is on the other chain. Now, transfer. You can get rewarded on any network of your choice. Now, why would you actually, want to be rewarded on any other network than what you are playing the game on? Because at this stage, there is a digital divide. Assets are on the other chain, and logic is on the other chain, right? And this digital divide between the chains, it's not to say that Xtalk is going to push this digital divide, but at the very moment, the requirement of the hour is to have the interop so that assets can freely move across, right? And this is where transferring your rewards on the other chain, where you want your assets to be held, is helpful. Now, minting, right? Minting your assets in the first place as well. And this is where the concept of, if you are playing a game and you want to mint and park your assets, let's say, on another chain, right? You don't want to sell them, but you want to park your assets on another chain where maybe you want to stake them, right? You don't want to sell it there, but you just want to stake your assets, like Can just mentioned. This could be done through this logic as well. We also have liquidity, right? As I mentioned, you can sell your assets on the other chain where there is enough liquidity available, or where there is a buyer, right? So you don't have to predefine it. And that's one of the beauties with Xtalk, which is you don't have to predefine where you want your asset to be sold. You can park it at a certain place on a certain network. And when you actually find a buyer, your buyer can decide for you where he wants this asset. So it's amazing, how this comes together. And at the end, commerce. I know that the spelling of commerce doesn't start with K, but anyways, the reason I put commerce is not because K starts with Kevin, but I kind of feel that there is a kinetic energy, like in this place where there is enough fuel in the wrong places, right? And there is fuel that's required in a certain area where a digital marketplace like OpenSea, for example, is stormed with transactions compared to the other chains. And I think the king of commerce is going to be someone who can move these assets across the marketplaces, not the marketplaces or the networks itself. So I feel that to be the Amazon of these marketplaces, it's important to get the buyers and the distributors or resellers together on that system. And this is where Xtalk and Web3 gaming can also start coming in. So maybe, Can, if you can tell us a little bit more about these characters, right? And how do you think these characters can benefit by being on any chain, right? So what would be the benefit of having characters scattered across the chains? And at the same time, if a player logs in from one chain, you automatically understand the characters on different chain and let this player play the game. What do you think are the benefits of that?
Yeah, actually, you called the main benefit while asking the question, being any chain. That's most basic things. You can be in any chain, and you can reach other chains. And if your favorite chain is Avalanche, go hang out there and play from Avalanche. And if you want to get your rewards on Solana to have fun, get your rewards on Solana. And these are pretty cool stuff. And I believe that this get rewards on any network of your choice will help really Ethereum users, because because of fees they can get their rewards on different chains. And if the game has upgrade system, they can upgrade those NFTs on different chains with lower TX fees. And yeah, that could be perfect, I believe. And minting your assets is like similar to getting your rewards, I believe. And yeah. And
Yep.
for
And
example,
yeah.
you can with minting assets on different chain, you can make the biggest mint event in the ecosystem in the blockchain ecosystem. You can on the Avalanche, Solana, Ethereum, Arbitrum, and you can make a mint event at the same time on 9 different chains. And probably this is the most biggest thing on the NFT ecosystem. And for example, the gods, I'd like to give an example. The gods or youth NFTs, and these NFTs are one of the biggest NFT collections and the communities, and they are continuously changing their chains, and from Solana to Ethereum, Polygon, etc. And with the LayerOneX, they don't need to change their NFT collections and make migration from different chains, and they can easily mint their assets on any chain that they want. And liquidity is great for games and not games. Liquidity, providing same liquidity pool, great for all projects. And I don't need to pay, I don't need to spend any of our assets to create a different pool on different chains. For example, if I want to go to Avalanche, I need to create a different pool over there. And on Solana, on Ethereum, and so I need to add LDAs and USDTs to a liquidity pool, and it's a little hard for a project. And on the commerce side, yes, please, Kevin.
So you're effectively removing those barriers for entry for the games, and stopping them have to go and spend more development money on swapping chains, and potentially losing users because they've swapped chains. By opening it up completely to a massive range of different chains and massive user base, as you actually mentioned a little earlier, which is fantastic.
Definitely, it's fantastic, and it's a big pain point. Kevin, you were saying something, I think.
Yeah. I mean, one of the biggest paradoxical situation that I feel Web3 has is that the majority of the blocks are empty, but the transaction fees are high. And I think one of the resource efficiency also comes from the fact that you don't mint your NFT unless you want to sell it, right? It's kind of like you should be able to prove your ownership, but at the same time, you don't need the asset until you want to do something with it. And this is where liquidity on, let's say, Ethereum, where you can mint your NFT on demand, right? And having to sell that NFT on demand on that chain will definitely increase or reduce the cost for Web3 games to actually provide these kind of features. So I think that's definitely an advantage to have.
Yeah, definitely. It's like, there's a thing called Tree of Life. It connects all the universe and Tree of Life. And we can think Xdog like this. Tree of Life connects all the ecosystem. And this is pretty awesome and spiritual, I can say. You can make meditation under the L1X tree. Yeah.
But
Connect
you're actually introducing not just gaming, but you're introducing more social or personal activities in there that can be gamified.
Whole ecosystem. Yeah, whole ecosystem.
Yep.
DeFi, GameFi, Launchpad, etc. Whole ecosystem with connection to Tree of Life.
Yep.
And interestingly, you mentioned just before about the cost side of it as well. Matthew and I were actually on a call earlier with a group, and he was doing a transaction and demonstrating cross-chain swaps. And the interesting thing that came out of it was the transaction on Axelar was about $90. Stargate was 42. On L1X, it was 13. Now that's paying for this fees being paid on the other chains as well. But what a massive difference that will start bringing back, bringing visibility to the users of those transaction fees, so that they'll then be able to make a decision about where do they want to be, where should they be to play the games. Do you want to be on a game where to send $100 it's going to cost you 90, or it just doesn't make sense. So you want to be able to move across to a chain where it's going to be so much cheaper.
Yeah. Okay. Let's jump into the fun part, right? Okay. So let's have a look at the process. As we got some time left, let's have a look at the process. Can everyone see my screen as well as I can?
Yeah. All good.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, what we are trying to do over here is, when we were working with Digalabs, so the way we try to do it is we did an exercise where let's forget there is any technological barrier, right? And let's see what do we exactly need? What does the user want? Not build something and then see, okay, now where to use this? So there were 3 key requirements that were, let me just see. Okay. So 4, sorry. So the first one was signing and proving ownership of assets. So the user should be able to sign on any network and prove that he has these assets on any other network, right? The second one was keeping a track of the leaderboard. So what I mean by that is, if there are players playing from 5 different chains, how do you keep a track of the leaderboard while the game is in progress and after the game has completed? Now, based on the leaderboard, how do you actually reward this particular user? Because if your rewards are, contract lies on a certain chain, how does this chain know that these are the leaderboards? This is the leaderboard from these multiple chains, and we need to be able to reward them, right? This logic of rewards. And at the same time, collecting or buying points to unlock assets. So let's say you win a game, you are rewarded an asset, you collect points on one chain, you want the asset on the other, and even having the ability to send these assets from one chain to the other. So these were the key components that were required, right? So Can came to us and he said, okay, this is what we need. So it was a pretty interesting discussion, because I went through each and every point and I was like, we can do this with Xtalk, right? This is an amazing use case. We can do this. And we started building it out, right? So the first one, right, is the player authenticates. Let's say we use 2 chains here, right? Binance and Binance and Ethereum. Let's use 2 chains. Now, the player is using MetaMask over here, yeah? So the player authenticates via MetaMask on the Binance chain. What will happen here is this account signature, right, is going to be sent to something called as an Xtalk master asset contract. And what this master asset contract is doing is it keeps a track of all the assets this particular account has on any of the chains, right? So if this guy has got, let's say, or girl has got, 2 characters on Binance, 2 characters on Avalanche, 2 on, let's say, Solana, it will keep a track of these characters. And if there is a minimum requirement, which there is, you need to have certain number of characters to play the game. You need to make sure that you get this information from various chains correctly. So this contract helps us do that. Now, the second one is ownership is verified by L1X's master asset ownership registry. Then the gameplay rewards recorded on the Binance chain. So what is going to happen is this. The user plays the game, and once the game is completed, right, the reward contract on the Binance chain is going to be updated, where the player's rewards for that Binance chain is, let's say, 10. Our listener nodes will listen to this information and they will send it across to the Xtalk master reward contract. And regardless of what chain it is on, this master reward contract is going to keep a track of that specific session. So if there are 15 players from multiple different chains playing the same game in that 120 seconds, then this master reward contract knows this is the global transaction ID for this session, and then keeps a tab on each and every score of the players from multiple different networks. After that, let's say now the player has performed well and has to be rewarded, right? There are multiple ways on how this will work, but more importantly is the ability for the reward contract on Xtalk to talk to the asset ownership contract on Xtalk or L1X, right? So if there is a predefined logic, and usually there is, which is if the user has X points and is number 1 on the leaderboard, then he should be able to get X character. So this specific logic is to be used in the reward contract itself. And once the reward is recorded, this logic is fired up, and then we send this information to the asset ownership contract. Now, the asset ownership contract keeps a track of various assets, and now it kind of understands what is the next step from here. So if you want your asset to be minted on Ethereum, the asset ownership contract will know that, because the reward contract that receives information from the user understands the user wants this asset on Ethereum, right? And after that, the player is requesting NFT minting on Ethereum, initiating the NFT contract, and the Ethereum NFT contract prepares for asset minting. Now, going back to the fact that the player has actually told us, the leader in the leaderboard, that I won the game and I want my asset on Ethereum now. This information is picked up by the reward contract, which sends this information to the asset NFT contract. The asset NFT contract prepares something called as a payload, saying that this is the details of the player. It is a proof that this guy has won X rewards, and he has told us that he wants Y asset on Z chain. At that point in time, the asset NFT contract will prepare a payload and mint that asset on Ethereum. So if the user does not want to mint the asset on Ethereum at that point in time or in that flow, the user does not need to do it. But if and when he decides, this logic will always be there on these contracts. So at that point in time, that asset is minted on Ethereum. Now, once the asset is minted on Ethereum, how do we know that the player has this asset NFT that's on Ethereum? Because we still have to update whether the transaction was successful or not, right? At that point in time, the listener node comes in again and says the asset was minted on Ethereum, listens to that information, and pushes that information in 2 different places. One is in the reward contract and one is in the asset NFT contract, because if the player has used his rewards, he should not be able to use it again. And if this player wants to use this asset NFT, from another chain, it should also be able to recognize that this player has now been upgraded with a new character. Once this happens, of course, the gameplay continues, and the L1X Xtalk contract, after updating itself, allows the other contracts on the other chain to know that when a player fires up a query that I want to play this game, the asset ownership contract will provide this information to the user that you can go and play this game in this specific session. And we did some cost analysis of doing the transaction in L1X, and one of the requirement was the IP 1.55 contract, the sole bounded contract. We actually have that contract on L1X VM. So it took us less than 24 hours to keep that, to go and start building that out. And it shows true interoperability where L1X VM, we don't need to use L1X EVM over here. The L1X VM interacts with these EVM chains, which is a EVM to non-EVM interaction anyways. And if this was done, on, let's say, a bridge, which is not actually possible, but let's say somehow you pull off at least two networks, you would be paying at least for 7 to 8 contracts in one sequence, which is it could be on an average of $25 to $30, or let's say $10. Because we are using L1X VM, we paid less than probably 2 cents for this whole transaction to happen. So when you're updating this contract over here, right, this is the cost that the user has to bear on the Binance network. But if the user does not want to mint the NFT on Ethereum, he doesn't pay for it. He parks it here. He only pays when the buyer wants to do it, right? Now, in the next version, we will find a way on how the user does not even have to invoke anything on the Binance chain and can still do the same transaction. Because at the end of the day, when the universal gas fee kicks in, you can update Xtalk, and Xtalk will update the Binance contract for you with L1X coins. So this sequence of verifying asset ownership in a fragmented places in a cohesive manner, getting the rules and rewards and establishing this leaderboard, and even minting the assets on demand, create a virtuous cycle of Web3 gaming interoperability for us, where these key components that Digalabs wants to push, where you do not need to be on a specific network where we tell you to be. We can keep a track of the leaderboard on any chain, be rewarded with assets on any other chain, collecting or buying points to unlock from other chain. Also opens up gaming companies on different chains to start working with Digalabs. So this is what is in development at this stage, and hopefully by the 10th of next month, we should have something available for the users to go and start testing it out.
So Ken, does that sort of excite you where that's heading, and are there any other things that you can see in the future that would add to that? Not creating work for Kevin, of course, but
I'm happy with that.
I'm pretty excited about all about the integration stuff. Yep, and also we will have a pretty big Heroes of Eldoran tournament once the integration is happen, and we will have some fun after all the development and hard working process, and we will have together. We will have fun together. Yeah.
We'll certainly jump on that tournament. I think we've already been chatting about that, so let's see where we can take that. I think that sounds pretty exciting, and I think our listeners will actually like that as well, being able to get in there and not just play the game, but participate in the first tournament, cross-chain tournament. I think that'll be a world first.
Yeah. I mean, I'll have to create some hack to play that game, because I'm not good at games. So, and I don't like to lose.
It's true.
Yeah.
Definitely a backdoor.
It's 50% luck, 50% skills.
Nice. I'm pretty excited, and I think as a development relationship between L1X and Digalabs, can I would like you to probably even tell the community members, if possible, how was your experience with us in the development cycle?
Yeah, it's really perfect. I'd like to say this, and you can easily integrate with your team's help. And for example, on the other hand, we are integrating Dig arcade games, and on the other hand, we are working on the Elderun side, and we are also working on a bigger picture together. And yeah, on the technological side, it's really perfect, and you can easily, a project can easily integrate with LayerOneX, and right now with the help of LayerOneX team. But I believe in the near future, with the documentation of this, process, they can easily integrate with LayerOneX without any help from the team, L1X team. And also, it will be really easy to integrate.
Yeah, I think you're spot on there, Ken, because the work that Kevin and the team have actually put into creating those self-onboarding documents will literally enable any project to come on board. I'm sure we're going to come across something that's very complex and requires a little bit of assistance, but if you can remove most of that, the effort required, then it just makes life so much easier. It reduces the friction, the time taken, and cost.
Yeah, exactly. Also, for example, I'm another project, and I like to, launch my token on Avalanche first. But in the end, I need to integrate it with L1X. So if any project will launch on different chains, who like to, reach more audience, they need to jump to and integrate with L1X. This no-brainer. This is no-brainer.
Yes, you're totally correct on that. Yeah, look, I think people go sometimes where the hype is, so they might go across to ETH or to Polygon or Solana or any of the others because there's hype there at the time. But once they start learning about the capabilities and the things that they want to be able to do and realize actually that's not available on the other chain. However, through L1X, they can actually achieve what they're after. Being able to go push NFTs cross-chain to make them available on literally any marketplace at all. And you'll start seeing those NFT marketplace aggregators coming into it. We've got DEX aggregators, so the NFT marketplace aggregators next.
Yeah, definitely. Also for new projects, thinking about different chains, and L1X gives the opportunity to liquidation, liquidate the pool, and they can reach different chains easily and with just one liquidity pool. And this is also another awesome thing.
Yeah, and I think the other thing too, for people who are watching or listening to this, is that you've got to look at the marketplace out there. So if we take into account things like movies, the size of the global market out there for cinema, it is absolutely huge. But gaming actually surpasses that by a long way. And as these traditional Web 2 games start realizing the capabilities offered by Web 3, with that integration of advertising or gamification of advertising, all those other features that can bring those things like the advertising companies and the people who want to advertise into the Web 3 gaming space, I think we're going to see a massive increase as well. I think it's a marketplace that actually doesn't exist yet.
Yeah, and I would also like to mention that these kind of solutions, right, they will act as the bedrock or the building blocks on how other projects can definitely make use of them. And when we were working with the dev team of Digalabs, I think they they exactly kind of know the problem they want to solve. That makes it fun to work with, because everyone on the team had the same answer, right? So having that level of confidence that we know what the problem is, and we are on almost every day now, right? After this as well, we've got to call it in an hour, and I think them taking the bait in and then onboarding other Web3 games, right, on the Digalabs infrastructure, where Digalabs will probably lead this gaming interoperability infrastructure themselves. I think that is pretty exciting to see where it goes.
Yeah, definitely.
Totally.
Okay, awesome.
See
Okay,
Chiefs
good.
stirring
Any
up
questions?
comments.
Yeah.
So just from what I've seen, there haven't actually been any specific questions, which I mean that means obviously we've your Miro boards are working brilliantly with answering things. But I see Chiefs in there stirring people up with the alpha leak, as Chief does.
Oh, come on! I don't stir up. That's not my character at all. I'm just asking questions. That's all. That's all it is. Look, I think Kevin's Miro boards actually really start showing their worth. And I mean, I have said to him in the past, "Oh, look, we need to make these, colourful and nicer and all that." No, actually, I think Kevin's absolutely spot on. People just want to see the simple description of the things, the components that we're trying to create. It just makes it so much easier for people to understand the questions that are being asked, the questions that are being answered. That's the key.
Yeah, I think colors fade faster than texture. So I think having the Miro board do what it does the best, and it doesn't take a lot of my time in as well to prepare, so that I can continuously do this on a recurring basis. Otherwise I wouldn't pick it up, because one day if I come with colors, the next day I come with black and white, you're gonna think I didn't work as hard as I put for the same way. So I like to set the expectations right.
The young dog teaches the old dog new tricks. Absolutely.
Chief just wants to be in there with the Power Ranger colours, I'm sure. Crayons, just banging it out. Absolutely.
Joe, you and I got to have a chat about that Power Ranger suit, I tell you. Yeah, because I've got one for you.
I hope it's there at the office.
It's not Power Ranger either.
I'll take it.
The question is, will the node infrastructure be ready to support the first cross-chain tournament? Yes, definitely. We wouldn't launch it otherwise. And probably by, today's already 28, right? So probably by, let's say in the next 2.5 weeks maximum, we'll have another AMA where next week we're going to come back, of course, with something else. But in the next 2.5 weeks, we'll have another AMA where we'll make sure that you have the right level of information for the full validator nodes on how to host it as well. Yes, oracles. One question from Sleazy Slimy. Actually, that's a good question, because the Digalabs team is currently, correct me if I'm wrong, but we are using a VRF from Chainlink, right? And that is being replaced with our listener node for the random numbers. So yes, our oracles are going to be put to use over here. Okay, that was a great one. X-Wallet seed recovery on priority list. Where is X-Wallet seed recovery on priority list? Down the line. I think we're working towards a few other things. I wouldn't promise something that I can't deliver. I don't know. Probably sometime in April or May. We've got few other things lined up already in the calendar. Yeah. Okay, it was great having you, Can, and thank you for your contribution in Web3, and the gaming space specifically. We look forward to having you again and making sure that this partnership is a success for the both of us.
Yeah, definitely. Thanks so much, Kevin, Joe, and Chief, Mike, and having us. And it was a really good and insightful AMA session about L1X and capabilities and the Digalabs partnership. Yeah, let's do it. Let's make the Web3 space interoperable.
Fantastic, and it's so great to see you and talk again, Can, and look forward to visiting you over there soon. So.
Yeah, likewise.
100%.
Take care, guys.
Thanks everybody for coming. Once again, a big massive thanks obviously to Can, to Kevin, and also to Chief for being here. Big thanks to the community for jumping on. We appreciate having you here, and obviously you being our audience for Kevin's amazing Miro boards on a weekly basis, and obviously every amazing guest that we have. So we do have more coming this week. So check our events that are coming up as well. There is more coming. Friday, we've got some more stuff to catch you guys up on, but we'll close it out there. Once again, thanks everyone for coming, and have an amazing night, morning, midday, whatever it is, wherever you are. Thanks everyone.
Perfect. Thank you. Bye.
Bye-bye.